You're listening to Tehachapi with Key Budge, Corey Costello, and Greg Garrett.
Tehachapi time again. Key Budge, Greg Garrett, Corey Costello. Guys, how are you?
Good morning. Doing good.
Running, it's one of those, like, you know, in terms of, I was having this conversation the other day. Look, I never want to go through another COVID-19 thing again, but the world is finally, I think, back to normal in terms of, like, our schedules.
So yesterday, spoke at the
insane.
Chamber of Commerce. There were nearly 100 people there.
Yeah.
So excited. Wow. Not because of me and I was the speaker, but because people have been pinned up and they want to be around each other and start sharing information, trading information so that we can all continue to thrive.
The bad news is, though, because of COVID, we now have this hybrid, you know, we have the hybrid meetings. So yesterday I had 4 sort of in-person meetings and then 4 on Zoom/Teams.
Yeah,
so
that's not done. That's going to be a part of our work culture as we move
so you got to really adjust your workflow these days.
And Key, I want to apologize. Corey and I were a little late. We were at the Coldwell Banker Real Estate. We're speaking to that group, which is, you know, real estate is an integral part. It's the kind of the finger of the pulse of the community, if you will. And that went a little longer, but I was happy to share information.
They had a ton of questions. That's why it went long. Yeah, they had a ton of questions. They were engaged, which is awesome because you want the agents to know, especially when people are coming in from out of the area, they have the information about what's going on to the buyers, and that way the buyers are properly informed.
Definitely to that point. I mean, that's the questions, because I was there and had to excuse myself. The questions that they had were intelligent. They were to help them become better business people, you know, to represent the community that they're selling. So I thought that was a nice tell. It wasn't just, hey, Greg, how are you? It's good to see you. It was, tell us a little bit more about this development.
Well, I think that their customers are a little more demanding, a little more sophisticated, and they've got money.
Well, you know what? This is a great pre-conversation because today's guest, Richard Chapman, the president and CEO of the Kern EDC. Richard, welcome to Tehachapi.
Speaking of money, Richard's here.
Great to live it up. Enjoyed the fog.
And it's great to have you in because here recently we had JP Lake in from B3K, talking B3K Prosperity, talking about opportunities and things that are coming and the visions that they're working on. That Corey and I got a chance to talk with him. Having you here, Greg just talking to the Chamber of Commerce, and more people are involved in this chamber meeting than we've seen in quite some time.
Ever.
So having you here is definitely a part of this conversation. The timing couldn't be better.
Big economic week.
Right. We can talk about what's going on here in Kern County and the East Kern. And so it's great to have you. And thank you for making the trip up here.
Well, thank you. I mean, you guys always set the bar high in terms of best practices. We were talking earlier today. And, I always refer to the top 10 indicators of a great city that James Fellows put out. And you check most of the boxes. And this is about the civic pride, lack of, political divisiveness, a downtown that's on the way up. And also, I think number 11 they added is breweries, at least one local brewery.
Well, so we've got 3 now.
Yeah. So there you go.
I was going to say the competitive part of me says, what boxes do we not check, Richard? We're going to go check those dang boxes.
Well, and as we were talking beforehand, one of the in terms of education in the community, higher ed education, and near research institutions. You're near Mojave, right? Trying to Lake Edwards. So I think I'll send you the list afterwards. Good. But I think it's pretty amazing what you all have accomplished in Tehachapi.
And with Saracosa wanting to have a larger footprint, I mean we're getting closer to checking that box right off. They're here, but they want to have a bigger footprint. So, I mean, that's all great stuff.
Yeah, the community of Tehachapi is maturing nicely, that's for sure. A lot of good people doing a lot of good work.
Well, let's talk about what you got coming up. Let's talk about, you've got a career STEMposium. I love that.
Yes.
STEMposium, key catch onto that. Let's talk a little bit about what you've got working.
Well, and the STEMposium, we actually started through our foundation about 4 or 5 years ago, pre-COVID. We had 3 annual events mainly at the Kern County Fairgrounds, 3,000 kids. We won an International Economic Development Council Award for Best Special Event. We had COVID, but we're coming out of this, and actually, an alliance with the Kern High School District, Brian Miller, and the C-Tech Center, which stands for Career Tech Ed Center. And this is, as I say, a diamond for our community, for the whole county, and something that's the pride of not just our county, but the state. But unfortunately, it opened during COVID, so 98% of people have not seen it. And so this event will bring 3,000 students I saw Tehachapi students will be there. Saw the list. So, and educators, because they need to understand how do they, the curriculum needs to match the needs of the employers and the workforce. And so 100 exhibitors, businesses, and so it's kind of this perfect storm, I think, where cross-pollination will, kind of instill a sense of pride. We're number 4 in the country for STEM jobs. Many people don't understand it, and our STEM jobs are not like other regions where about 60% of them require a 2-year degree. Great if you have a 4-year degree, but a majority of ours require a 2-year degree, that voc ed experience, and you can make $70,000 to $80,000 a year. So I think it will be a great day. It is April Fool's. We will be there.
So April 1st, no fooling. Okay.
Yeah, I always, in my family, I'm called the jester. And I remember there was a MASH episode. The best joke is not to do anything. Yeah. The whole day they're worried, right? And there was a MASH episode that I always remember. So they're always, waiting for the big hurrah, and it never happens. So
So the STEMposium, that is Friday, April 1st from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And it's 7301 Old River Road. And the facility is... What's it called? What's the name of the facility?
Career Technical Education Center.
Technical Education Center. We might have to go.
And guess what? We have 4 guest speakers, and 2 are East Kern. Stu Witt, we all know and love Stu Witt. Right. Obviously, Mojave Air and Spaceport, working with Dick Rattan. He's going to be giving basically a TED Talks it's called Innovations Hall. There's an amazing theater venue for about 250 folks. We have Amira Flores, who's with Starbase Edwards, talking about STEM education.
Just met her at the East Kern meeting last week, yeah.
Just impressive story, lived all over the world. We do have another aviation story about the girls in Bakersfield that are building a 1920s, I think it's monopole plane. I'm not sure who wants to be the first to fly in it.
I bet there'll be a line of people that want to fly it.
But Bob Meadows will be interviewing her. Nice. And then we have Elena Rusk, a meteorologist. So that's exciting to have the speaker forum on the hour. But again, just having as Greg said, people are ready to come out. Yeah. Of course, everyone wants to drive now. I just filled up my car today.
Yeah,
so
good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, it's you brought it up earlier, and it kind of goes back to what we had mentioned with JP Lake in our one of our last shows was. Getting the education stuff to match the jobs, because I think as Kern County has pivoted and a lot of these STEM jobs have now become a major employer, we've got to get into focus on training up that next generation to stay here. Yes. And so it's great to hear when middle schools, high schools are getting engaged now, because they let them know, hey, there's a future in Kern County. There's a future in your home.
Well, you're right. It is a talent retention event. And it's much like economic development. The focus really should be on retaining and expanding your local business, because that's where a majority of the growth is. It's wonderful to attract business, but that the 80% of the new jobs are from your local.
And it's got to be kind of a challenge too, because the Kern County economy is so diverse.
Yes.
We've got oil, we've got ag, we've got aviation, we've got mining. We've talked about this many, many times, but it's not like we're Detroit where we make cars. Right, we have so many opportunities, and this symposium it's free to the public.
Yes,
right? It's absolutely free.
Exhibitors too.
Just free to exhibitors also. So 100 exhibitors. We've got talks on the hour, and so everybody is invited. And I think it might be really beneficial to just go and listen and be that sponge.
Well, and you see the great thing when we've held it in the past, no one's looking at their phones. Right? What kind of event, right? Conference. The kids are saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's just amazing to see the interest, and, we all love our phones, but this is a great way to disconnect and really have conversations, much like you're having, in person today with the chamber and other groups. And, Kern County is about relationships. You mentioned Detroit. It's interesting. Detroit is the #1 city in the country for talent retention.
Really?
A lot of people do a double take.
So you think people would be fleeing Detroit, but there's the children are staying.
The industry's pivoted, right?
But Detroit, I use that as an example. Right. It's probably a bad example, actually, now that you think about it, or I'm thinking about it, because Detroit has transformed. It's transforming itself.
Right.
They went through some tough years, but the new Detroit is very different from the old Detroit.
They've pivoted, and they have not priced out the middle class. I mean, that's at least Kern County. We're still relatively affordable versus, obviously, Bay Area and LA. Where 2% of teachers can afford a house in Bay Area, we're here at 70 to 80%.
And even that though it takes buy-in from a lot of different people to keep that affordability, because we've seen a large spike in home prices in Tehachapi, mostly due to a lack of inventory.
Yes.
And so, but when the state has things that make it very tough to build homes, it's funny they keep talking about housing shortage, but they don't realize like they caused the housing shortage.
That's it.
But or they're cutting off access to water through the state water project and not bringing communities what they should be getting. Those sorts of things like play into it. There's a lot of that. A lot of people have to be moving in the same direction to get homes on the ground and keep that affordability. If not, that price goes up.
Well, they basically, you'll look at charts of the top 100 cities and the ones that have created hurdles for housing. What is the cost of the house, right? The supply has stayed at the same. Demand has increased exponentially. But versus Kern County, at least, I think we have that much better equilibrium.
Yeah, that's for sure. You brought a sheet, Kern County at a glance, and man, there's a lot of information on here, and I'm just going to read a couple of them to spur some further conversation. But the largest economy in the San Joaquin Valley, we're number 2 in agricultural production nationwide. We're number 3 in economic diversity nationwide. We're number 4 in STEM jobs nationwide. We have over 50 major distribution centers. I'm just going to continue reading this. Largest oil producer in energy in the state. 70% of the state's oil is in Kern County. 60% of solar is in Kern County. The largest wind farm in the United States. The second largest solar farm in the U.S. Number 7 in the county for oil producing. We have the world's tech first. So the most technological aviation advancements between Edwards Air Force Base and China Lake. The first commercial spaceport in the United States, the first space shuttle landings. So, on and on and on. This is a great kind of snapshot of who we are.
And as we are ambassadors for our region, do our local residents know this? Because I think they would have so much pride. I don't know. I don't think this would fit on a T-shirt. But, I think this is something that people do a double take when we put out these fact sheets. And I'm really proud of especially the number 3 for diversity in the country.
Every time I see something go, especially now that we're seeing more and more of the private space flights. But I remember back to, I've been to a shuttle landing at Edwards Air Force Base when I was a kid. I was driving back from Las Vegas, and all of a sudden we heard the sonic boom. We saw people on the side of the freeway. We're like, oh, the shuttle's landing. We pulled over and watched the shuttle land on the dry lake bed.
Right.
Yeah,
I thought they had retired the shuttle program before you were born.
No, I look very good for my age. But every time now, especially with the private space, stuff, we see things getting launched. It creates that sense of pride, because I look at it and go, that was built in Kern, or somebody designed that in Kern, or a friend of mine who lives in Tehachapi was on the design team for that pod that Elon Musk just shot into space, and those sorts of things. It's really cool to really feel like the space program now where it's at would not be anywhere near without Kern County.
We cannot lose that edge. We cannot take it for granted. We have to understand and remind ourselves every day that it matters, and we have to continue to fight the good fight to save Kern County from, let's say, state and federal bureaucrats that continue to just clamp down on the freedoms and the ability to create and to live a free American.
Well, energy independence should be an apolitical issue, right? I always talk about growing up. I grew up in the 70s, 80s. We had the gas lines, right, where odd, even license plate numbers. And it seemed like everyone was on the same page about we use what we have locally. And then when we tell people Kern, it produces, 70% of the state's oil and 60% renewable energy. I wrote a recent piece, is why aren't we at the head of the table at the state discussing future policy? Are we going to be at the head, or are we going to be at the children's table or the adult table?
The little expandable
and even
card
that,
table.
You should allow the market to dictate that, especially in the energy sector. So there's been a lot of talks about all these emerging technologies we have, right? Carbon capture, hydrogen, renewables. So I think really instead of clamping down on the oil industry, cutting permits, cutting fracking, cutting production, investing those others, the renewables, that sort of thing, let that market sort of naturally. So if you want to see a transition, the way to transition is to, put some money and attention into the renewable industry and not necessarily force people off of oil right away. It'll make that. We've always made that transition, and we'll make that transition naturally without a lot of government oversight.
Yeah, we don't want to get too political here, but certainly, when you look at projects like the State Water Project, hijacked by special interests, when we look at high-speed rail, a lot of special interests of hijacked. We need to be better. We're smarter. I know the people in Sacramento and DC are far smarter than what they're producing. and it's really, it's frustrating because at the city of Tehachapi, you can see us, you can work with us, you can understand who we are, what we do with our budgets and our projects, very transparent. But at these other government agencies, it's frustrating, and the relationships need to be stronger.
Well, and we're sitting in the wind capital of the world. I mean, Tehachapi.
It was pretty windy on Sunday.
Blows every day.
They produced a lot of power on that ridge on Sunday.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you guys did a fabulous recap of the Kern County Energy Summit a couple months ago, and as Mayor Dave Knorr, we love Dave Knorr
from Taft.
Yes, Taft. He said it's not just transition; it's about integration. Mm-hmm. And as Corey mentioned, who funds this renewable energy? These are petroleum companies, Chevron, Era, CRC. They're all engaged in these type, green hydrogen, carbon capture. If these companies are death by 1,000 cuts, what interest will remain? And then also the state needs to incentivize, right? If they want these type of projects, well, will they incentivize? That's the key, I think.
And so locally, Kern EDC is working with the East Kern Economic Alliance. So what are we doing locally to help, our tide rise so our boats can rise? And how are we working together?
Yes, the East Kern Economic Alliance, we started, I believe, in 2009. And, one of my goals when I came into the job in 2006, I believe, was we were seen as a West Kern-centric organization. And there was the innovation and, frankly, a lot of the future of Kern is, as we see from that list, in East Kern. We have these centers of excellence, Edwards, China Lake, Mojave, and interesting enough, not a lot of people in West Kern knew about that. So the key was how do we kind of, that tapestry, it was so important between the two parts of the county. And we've been meeting in East Kern, rotating around the county, East Kern, for a decade. And I think it's the communities working together in concert to help tell that story. And you all have done a great job because we talk about innovation. How do we explain what our communities are doing and that best practices? We're trying to build up in terms of attendance. And I just think I always come out of those meetings just energized. Anytime I come to East Kern or Tehachapi, especially, there's just the public sector is actually, you all are economic developers work, moving at the private sector speed. That's not the case in Sacramento.
So with our East Kern Economic Alliance, and we get these meetings together, we're going to be hosting one coming up
in May. Is it the 14th? It's the second Thursday of the month.
Mm-hmm. Who should attend?
Anybody. Well, any and all. But it will be in person, not a hybrid meeting.
But that's what I want to get across. This is meeting for people that are listening, that are engaged in business or opportunity.
May 12th.
May 12th, think at 2 p.m.
As we talked with JP Lake, business to business minded and things. This is a time to network and grow your business or listen to opportunities that are out there.
Yes, this is the thing about the communities showcasing and updating. The Tehachapi has that great economic development update, right? Update, capitalized, playing off live up, and I would suggest every community does that. But these meetings, at least bi-monthly, the communities have the opportunity to present, kind of the recent developments and updates on economic development activity. And you guys also set the bar high with the Greater Tehachapi EDC. That's a monthly forum. And just you see that, you feel the community pride in those rooms. And so I think, this is the thing, we're always trying to showcase best practices.
Right. So Key, you think about the Tehachapi EDC and the Tehachapi Chamber, that's a regional thing. But when we talk about East Kern, that includes Roseman, Edwards Air Force Base, China Lake, Ridgecrest, on and on and on. And so we meet as an entire region and we share information, whether it has to do with transportation or grant writing for different things or water challenges, all those things. And we really try to work together. So if you want to attend the meeting, it's at the new Village Co. studio. It's on F Street. The entrance is on F Street. It's at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
2 p.m. on the date again?
May 12th.
May 12th. So everyone is welcome. And if you want to just get a flavor of what's happening in East Kern, so that's, kind of Tehachapi East, all the communities, and we work well together. We work really well together.
And this is an opportunity to even go back to what we mentioned at JP Lake the other day. We talked about really one of the largest growing job sectors in Tehachapi and Kern County is the other professional services sector, which are those companies that don't make a widget, but they do things legal. Maybe it's legal, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's consulting, maybe it's design, architecture, whatever it might be. That's one of the biggest growing sectors as people start to kind of branch out on their own. So this is an opportunity to make those connections, see what's happening, know at least there's something going on in East Kern that you may be able to benefit from by making that connection. So that would be the pitch to really to attend just out of curiosity, but you may have a way to make a very important connection down the road.
I remember, Corey, a couple months ago, we were doing some data research and we had a couple hundred new business licenses that were issued in the city of Tehachapi, even during COVID. And those people are in their kitchens, they're in their garages, they're the kind of that boilerplate, if you will, creating things, which is really awesome. And Tehachapi's role in East Kern economics is, we're not about smokestacks and, all of that heavy industry, but we support East Kern, all of Kern, but we have a big support role in East Kern with our quality of life, with our housing, with our different recreation activities, with the wineries, the breweries, all of that. So we understand our role.
Well, and you, at that point about being an incubator for startups, JP Seed Corps organization, our KDC, co-founded KITE, which is the Kern Initiative for Talent and Entrepreneurship. Go kite.org. If you are a startup, please go. There's great resource compass. And what is KITE about? Well, we are number 5 in the country, Kern County, for startup activity, but we lag our peer metros in terms of pay for these startups as well as longevity. And so KITE is really about providing sources of funding, talent, spaces. You have Village Collective here, and guidance. And so it's, again, any business can sign up. It's free of charge. And another stat, 90% of net new job growth in any community are for firms less than a year old. So that dictates the sustainability of any local economy. How healthy are your startups? So I know you all have, through those business licenses, you're seeing that dynamism and economic vitality on a monthly basis.
That's right.
What kind of feedback do you get here from the East County? Is it different when you come out than what you see in the West County or in the metro area of Kern County? Do you get different feedback?
I mean, the thing I'm surprised that, West Kern, when I say I'm going, let's say to Mojave, they say, well, is that 2 hours away? Or Boron. So I talked with you, Key, before this conversation about we don't have a business journal for the region. I mean, most of the top 200 metros. So how do you tell the story of business? That's why East Kern Economic Alliance is important. That's why your update's important. But West Kern really is not privy to a lot of what's going on at East Kern. And frankly, a lot of what happens here is maybe within the fence, right? China Lake, I mean, you need probably a month or two to get access, or Edwards. So my goal is just to really communicate through this top 10 list, for instance, the incredible, vitality of East Kern. And it behooves West Kern as well. I mean, we are a county, much like when you all talk about the oil industry. Well, oil is in West Kern, but you all realize in terms of public services and safety, if we lose that source of revenue, then our whole county and citizens are going to be impacted.
Yeah, the county budget goes in the tank.
Yes. I mean, 17 out of the top 20 taxpayers are energy companies.
That's why the transition, we talk about that transition, whatever that may be, you just can't stop. You've got to work together to create, let's figure out how to go take that hill, if you will, right?
Yes.
Instead of just go charge the hill and half of your fatalities everywhere.
If you look at the history of our energy transitions, right, it was, the steam engine gave way to combustible engine, but it didn't just happen overnight.
Right.
The horse and buggy went to the automobile, but it didn't just happen overnight. They just one day say, we're not selling horse feed anymore, and you all got to go buy a car, like they're trying to do now, saying, well, you can't have gas anymore, go buy an electric vehicle. So there's this natural transition has always happened in the history of the United States and the history of the world when it comes to energy, and it's just so odd that this time it's a little different.
Well, I saw a stat yesterday, 96% of miles driven in California are by fuel-powered cars, not electric. So 96, how are we going to get to, zero. Look at Germany. I mean, Germany's under, with Ukraine and Russia, Germany's dependence now on Russia, where they got rid of nuclear after the Japanese accident. They went to renewable. That's wonderful. But during the winter, especially solar, and so what's the backup? It's coal. But the thing in Germany, the government gave billions of dollars to transition from $1 billion industry, coal. How much is coming from Sacramento to get rid of to transition out of a $10 billion local economy? So we have to do the math there, because at least it seemed like the scales were somewhat balanced in Germany. But again, they're who knows, blackouts and other types of future ramifications from that knee-jerk decision.
And we mentioned this in the past too. It's all part of this sort of energy ecosystem. I mean, the emerging technologies, whether it be the renewables, the solar, the wind, that need petroleum to build a lot of their products. Battery storage. They need the lithium to mine out to put in the batteries, and they need the petroleum to create those plastics. But then also just, the carbon capture, right? Well, who's creating the carbon? Well, it's the oil companies. Right. Okay, so the oil companies got to get it into the carbon capture to storage. And so everybody, there's like an ecosystem that it hinges upon everybody kind of moving in that same direction.
Sounds
so I think
like
it's important.
Kern County is one-stop shopping. We're providing everything for everything you just said, Corey.
Pretty much.
Right?
And Corey must be like tuned into what I'm thinking. You keep pulling my thoughts out. But with the Energy Summit, I think the thing that impressed me the most at the last one that you put together was things like opportunity. Okay, the carbon capture. Where are we looking for? The battery storage. These different types of things. What parts of Kern County are we built to do this? And we're already starting to work towards seeking those opportunities.
Well, I wish that many folks in Sacramento would have been in that room, because it was a celebration. I think there was no inflammatory language. It was about how we're working together. You had renewable. We had BHE Renewables CEO. We had the CEO of ERA, county planning, community development director, Lorelei Ovia, natural resources, talking about public and private sector. But you want this state needs to incentivize this move. And the other part, I always talk about multipliers, because one oil job, we talk about one oil job, but that creates 3 or 4 more in the community. So whatever these new jobs are, I hope that they have the same multiplier impact as the oil job, and it's tough.
And you're on that multiplier front, when we think oil jobs, a lot of people automatically think Chevron, Oxy. They go to the big players, Barry. But you forgot about the oil services companies that exist, that make the widgets and the collars and the drilling pipes and the drilling fluids that go into the ground to extract this oil out. These are usually small businesses that work with the oil companies. So if Chevron needs something for one of their Lost Hills developments, they got a shop in Bakersfield to pick it up. They don't have to wait a week and a half for it to be shipped in. So there's a lot of those support businesses that are impacted by these decisions as well, not just the big guys, because you think, the big guys can afford it. Yeah, but the guy who's selling, the small drilling fluid can't.
And then, you mentioned like that, the induced and indirect, right? You have the direct job, but the restaurants, right, where these wages are being spent, it's that ripple effect. And so that is our number one industry in our county. This is not like something down on list 20th on list. So pulling out that rug is going to impact not just the county, but the state. We had Peter Zion, who's a global political strategist, many years ago at the summit. And he said, California will be spending $10 a gallon for gas in a couple of years. And we all chuckled. The rest of the country, 2 to 3.
Far away. It's not funny as it is. Yeah.
Because we are an energy island. And where are our sources? Alaska will be zero pretty soon, so the rest, it's basically local or foreign oil.
Yeah, well, the carbon capture project is, I applaud Kern County for approaching that and doing the right thing environmentally, and then putting people to work. And it's really frustrating because, we're stopping our production of oil, let's say, but then other countries like China and India, they just continue to pollute more.
Yes.
And so the balance on a global scale, we've been talking about kind of the California and the United States business model, but the global model is even more. What do you think that our opportunities are? How can we, in East Kern, in Tehachapi, how can we continue to support Kern County and our Kern County businesses and what we do, not just oil? I'm talking everything that we do in all of our businesses. How can Tehachapi do a better job?
Well, I mean, you all, the renewable energy, look, over a decade ago, the Board of Supervisors said we will, 15,000 megawatts or, we've had $60 billion investment. Where has 90% of the renewable energy gone in our county in East Kern?
It's gone to the Bay Area.
Yeah. And we're powering, our green electrons, of course, power the rest of the state.
Yeah.
But you all have proven, East Kern has proven. Now and the good news is we have several large manufacturing projects now, a different air district. So you all talk about the trade area. Maybe, you have Tehachapi, the trade area is over 200,000. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't understand the labor shed is there. The labor force is there. So we have the properties, working with Rio Tinto, moving forward the lithium. So I think the key is getting that shovel-ready land ready to go, and because we are getting more and more looks for East Kern because of that, the population has increased.
Well, we definitely have space,
yes.
That's for sure, and we have limited regulations appropriately.
Yes.
We don't just give away the farm, but we want to, like I said earlier, we have this big support role in all of the industries, and I'm bound and determined to continue to support, but even support more.
Well, we always talk about NIMBYs and how many NIMBYs do we have for projects, and of course then we pivot to banana. If you know what banana means?
No, what is that?
Build absolutely nothing anywhere near anybody. So hopefully we don't
not in my backyard, but enhanced, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And NIMBY?
NIMBY, yeah, not in my
Not
backyard.
in my backyard.
Okay.
So we need we need quarry pits for gravel, and we need mines. You need wind turbines. You need oil derricks. Whatever. Everybody needs it and uses it, but nobody wants it in their backyard.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even mention we have, there's only two precious metal mines in California. We have Golden Queen that, a couple of years ago started up or reopened. They have 300 employees. Yeah. I bet 95% of people had no idea that we have a gold mine in Kern County.
And where there's gold, there's silver.
Yeah, right, yep. Right. And then we have lithium. So we really are this place, incubator, right, for the next generation technologies. That's why that Energy Summit, it's really that integration is happening. Mm-hmm. So just don't put up hurdles, much like Tehachapi removes hurdles, the city. If the state really is that ultimate, determines what we can and can't do. And I just want the appreciation, as Lorelei Oviatt says, countries around the world know about Kern, especially East Kern for renewable. How does Sacramento understand what we truly do to provide all types of energy for the state?
And the thing is, anyone who's in Sacramento, lawmakers, apart from those that actually represent this area, they don't really drive through here. They use I-5, right. And I remember years ago when I lived in Bakersfield, folks thought that Bakersfield was the I-5 exit. They're like, wow, there's nothing in Bakersfield but a truck stop. No, it's another 20 miles in off that. That's where it's at. And the same for East Kern. They don't get off the I-5 on the way back to LA, and so they don't ever come this direction to see what's happening out in East Kern. Yeah,
I saw with your dad was at Placer AA that you see the people that come from Vegas, maybe live in Fresno, they're stopping at the wineries. Think about Hard Rock. I mean, Hard Rock is going to change the county. Mm-hmm. That's going to be $600 million investment, 400 rooms. Of course, I know you all be at the Lightning in a Bottle Festival in a month or two.
I already got my campsite, my outfit picked out.
Remember, the glow stick was invented in Ridgecrest, China Lake.
I got to change the air in my tires that day. So
I'll be there. Yoga classes, kombucha, and
oh my gosh,
dance music.
Yeah,
I'm all over it.
So we've talked about these different industries in particular here in East Kern. Going back to the STEMposium coming up, okay, what groups are going to be there that have committed to be there, and then who should attend?
Well, again, it's telling the story of our STEM, right, and matching with the Career Expo, because the Career Expo has been taking place for 4 or 5 years. I mean, you're going to have employers across, right, where they're very, very diverse, the employers across all industry sectors. But it's, again, 3,000 kids looking and seeing, oh, wow, this is happening in Kern County. The more interactive, the better. I don't know if Tehachapi has an interactive booth, if you juggle or something, Key, or chainsaws.
We podcast. That's our interactive.
That's right.
Let me bring the podcast down.
I mean, we have our premier sponsor, Chevron. They're going to have the STEM zone. It's just going to be a real eye opener, I think, because we can never assume that folks, even the parents know about the opportunities. Maybe a parent will decide to move into a different field. I mean, this is the thing, communicating this really the standard.
But it starts the conversation,
Yes.
right? It starts the conversation about opportunities. Maybe you like this, you don't really care for that, but you start down a path that, may be beneficial to your future and our cities and our counties and our country's future.
Right, and then because we have this fear. I mean, I remember when I teach high school class or college, and I talk about Kern County, and I say this sheet I bring up that we talked about. I say, how many when I start the presentation, how many of you want to stay here when you graduate? Maybe 1 out of 50, and hopefully you'll change after my 4 out of 50 say. So versus that PowerPoint, okay, I had some impact, but I think this STEMposium Career Expo is a game changer. So
a lot of people have to go away, for education.
Yes.
You hope they might come back, but it's really exciting that Saracoso is growing their footprint in the city of Tehachapi, right? They've partnered with TUSD, Tehachapi Unified School District, and they're offering a lot of classes that have to do with medical, nursing, policing, those sorts of things.
Cybersecurity or
the careers that matter for East Kern, right? So kudos to Saracoso and TUSD for partnering and allowing that to grow and blossom and provide the opportunities for our kids.
And they're a partner on the steering committee. We wanted to make sure that East Kern was represented as well as the students. So, that is the key, right? Getting a present type of great indicators is having, higher ed in your community.
And reality to the kids, by the way, first of all, cities are overrated. Been there, done that, right? Big cities are overrated. Right. And you always come back, or you always think about coming back. Case in point, or I ran into a friend of mine that I played football with, hadn't seen him in over a decade, and I just thought he was in town visiting, and I said, "Oh, you just coming back to the hometown?" He goes, "No, I just moved back." And he goes, I want to be back, near my family, and so I moved back. And he was up in the Bay Area, and so I said, everybody comes back, man, and it's true. So why, don't necessarily have to leave and start your career. This is a great opportunity.
And
to
they
start
intentionally
right
come
here.
back,
and you can afford to live here.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. We had that value proposition. I mean, I lived in Seattle in the '90s. Kurt Cobain was still alive before Courtney may have, taken matters from him. But cost of housing has gone up 300% because, as Corey said, the supply has not increased. I wanted to, speaking of workforce development, we are launching it's called KIC, which is Kern Interns Connection. We're linking interns with employers throughout the county. Why is that important? Because the number one attribute that employers are looking for from these students is, did they have a paid internship? And we know that 70% of the interns actually receive a full-time employment offer at the end of that term. So this is countywide, and we're going to promote it at the STEMposium Expo. But we got to get these kids have to get a foot in the door, and it is paid. And unpaid is like no internship at all. But it's only as good as the employers that are at the table. So we'd love to work with the city. And so
they're interviewing it's a paid interview for several months,
right?
And then you can actually know if that person's going to work out and be part of your strong team.
That's
right. You're only as strong as the weakest link, and you want to hire people that are value added to your team. I mean, that is.
We probably all remember our first internship. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I job shadowed a doctor that was a urologist. I decided after a couple of days that was not for me. So.
I thought you were going to say brain surgeon, not urologist.
It took a couple days. I'd have been out in about 2 minutes.
So I can't tell if you're because for the listeners, Richard loves to tell jokes. I can't tell if that was
Dr.
true.
God rest his soul.
See, that was real.
So that wasn't a joke. That was no. Okay.
And then the other option was for computer science. Well, they had Fortran, which was card reading. Remember the card reading?
Right.
So luckily that didn't. I just couldn't wrap my arms around that. So business, but what is business, right? Yeah. So I think, it's, maybe that urologist, who knows, if maybe a different doctor.
Well, you figured it out, and you've settled into the perfect job. You do an amazing job for our county. I appreciate your dedication and your work.
Well, and thank you for partnering. I love partnering with the city, Greg, Corey, and now Key. I've gotten Key, and you guys just grease the tracks.
You got one, you got all of us.
That's right.
And everybody else in this building. I mean, we have amazing people.
Well, you are like a company, right? You're the red carpet really exists here. That's not the same in a lot of other communities. And investment goes where it's appreciated, right? There's reliability, clarity, And you're at the table. You all are at the table, rolling up your sleeves, and how do you make it happen?
And a lot of advocacy too. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in the background that folks don't realize when it comes to somebody making an investment. If we're not advocating for things like power, water, access to infrastructure, access to capital, making sure people are doing what's right, so we have that foundation laid, it doesn't happen. So those are a lot of things I think that folks don't see. There's a lot of advocacy that goes on in the background, a lot of work.
Well, and I appreciate and looking forward to the growth of your community and tasting at the new brewery, right?
That's
Old
right.
West.
Yeah.
You know, with the STEM conversation, this is a STEM community. You know, we look at our high school,
isn't it? It really is.
It is. We've had conversation recently about our high school as they build a space shuttle simulator.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I hear it's incredible what these high school kids have done. We've got the Build-A-Plane program, out at the airport with the Tehachapi Society of Pilots and what they've done. And I know firsthand with talking with one of the students, it changed their vocational, trajectory, their dream. Getting the chance to go hands-on and put rivets into a plane, it was like, I want to do this. And now they're seeking out that educational aspect to go ahead and to do some, airplane mechanic work in that field. We've got the STEM programs that Edwards is a part of, and they every year, as a part of their air show, they tie in a whole STEM program for kids. We are STEM.
And these people are your neighbors. They're incognito. They don't necessarily talk about their work. A lot of times they can't because it's under kind of a cloak, if you will. But they're your neighbors. And Jeanette Power, the new president of the Chamber of Commerce, her husband is one of the directors at NASA. Oh. That's a big deal, right? And so she's talking about bringing some of that talent out and having some conferences and bringing some of the pilots, some of the designers into our community to talk about more about what they do at Edwards to help us help them.
Well, and that's why we've made a real push to get NASA and Edwards and hopefully China Lake and Mojave at this STEMposium, right? I know their schedules are full, but it's really to showcase. Because again, a lot of this is beyond our site. We maybe read about Strato launch a couple times a year, but how do we get these kids to see what's happening in our own backyard? Because STEM is the key to upward mobility.
Mm-hmm. And maybe we host a STEM in Tehachapi with your organization, with NASA, with Edwards, with TUSD, with Cerro Coso,
the Chamber of Commerce,
with Chamber. Mm-hmm. Maybe we plan something for a year out so that we could borrow one of the school district's gyms. And put it on and just see how it goes. Well, we've got a lot to say, a lot to show.
And our foundation board has discussed East Kern STEMposium. So I think
a little more focused, if you will.
Right.
Yes. Because, Kern, like as we say, we're very blessed. We have a very diverse economy. But if we have a focused STEMposium, that might be something very interesting. Maybe the city is the main host.
Yes.
Yeah. We're right in the middle. We'll host it.
That would be great. I'd love it.
See, out of this conversation, we're already looking forward
to
other opportunities that we can create.
I can visualize it at the high school gym and people, the booth set up and some speakers. The same thing that you're doing for Kern County, we do for East Kern.
Yeah. Well, and that way we move. We can't, talk about where moving the mountain, but I mean, what better place, trying to ensure that the East Kern employers will be at the table versus having them go an hour plus away.
Well, a lot of times if you build it, they will come. Right. I guarantee you, if we plan it, they will come.
Well, I'd love to. Let's aim for 2023.
There we go.
Should we get our calendars and pick a date?
Yep. Hopefully there won't be COVID 23.
No,
right? You just went and said it, didn't you? Okay, Richard, let's tell people where can they go to find more information about the STEMposium or other programs and things. You've got two different. You've got the EDC, and then you've also got the foundation. So let's share some of that contact information.
Yes, and so basically we have it's a very long. Next year we got to get a URL, tiny URL, but it's http://cte.kernhigh.org/STEM Career Expo.
We'll just put that on our website.
That's a tongue twister. I know. Next year, come on, can we get a smile?
I know.
Is there a link on the EDC?
I believe the KEDF.org. But the best way is to reach out to me at richard@kedf.org. and I will respond immediately. We have a program assistant. So rather than, reciting the alphabet, just Richard at KEDF, as in Kern Economic Development Foundation.org, and we'll respond within the day.
That makes it easy. And then also you can, if you miss that, you can always send it to media at Tehachapi City Hall, and we'll get it to Richard. Richard, anything else as we start to wrap things up here? Is there anything else that maybe we didn't touch on that you'd like to share?
No, I'm just excited coming here in May 12th. And, Nikki and Buddy Cummings, I've known them for at least a decade, and they're true entrepreneurs. And, I think we'll get amazing attendance, not just East Kern Economic Alliance, but KITE. And we'd like to have Kern EDC board meeting up here. Hopefully, perhaps in April. We were at Adventist a couple of years ago.
There you go.
But our goal is to bring, around the EDC board around the county.
We're always happy to host.
Okay, well, thank you.
Always happy to host.
April 28th, so I'll be in touch.
There you go.
Okay.
There you have it. That's Richard Chapman with the Kern EDC, and we've got a STEMposium on April 1st. We've got the East Kern Economic Alliance gathering at Nikki and Buddy's place, the Village Collective. Sorry, Nikki and Buddy. We'll have to get them on talking about the workplace and opportunities for other businesses. But that's coming up on May 12th. We just invite you to participate in the conversation. Shoot us an email at media@tehachapicityhall.com. Guys, anything in closing you want to send out there?
This has been a great conversation. Thank you for coming up, Richard.
Yeah, awesome, Richard. Good to see you. Thanks for coming up.
We appreciate your time, and we look forward to talking to you again on Tehachapod.
Tehachapod is a conversation about Tehachapi designed for the people who live here or who would like to know more about this mountaintop community. If you have a question you would like answered, email media@tehachapicityhall.com. We will try to answer it on a future episode of Tehachapod.